Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and the second video in this little series on the Chaos project that I'm going to be starting next month. And today I've decided I'm going to have a little route through the model collection, have a look what I've got and try and form some sort of plan ready to take on the Call of the Crown painting challenge. So without any further ado, let's take a look, see what I've got on the table. And I'm going to start off with what I think I'm probably going to do during the first month of the painting challenge, and that is some Chaos Knights, and that's obviously one of the riders there, and there is one of the mounts. So these are I believe the second edition Chaos Knights that were made for Warhammer Fantasy. The first edition being sometime in the mid to late 80s, and these ones were, I would say, probably about 1994 from memory, and these are absolutely brilliant to look at, but I've got a feeling they're going to be not too easy to paint, especially those horses and the armour in particular on the horses. We've got a lot of concave surfaces and large areas to cover, so I'd imagine all the airbrush users out there will probably have a dream painting these, but I'm not an airbrush user, I'm a hand painter, so yeah, well, I'll probably have a crack at them in the first month, and I'll show you a few of the other sculpts that they've got here as well. That's the first example. I'll put those up there so you can still see them whilst I'm talking about the others. That's the same. So that's a different mount. Oh, that's a standard bearer, but he's unfortunately missing his banner top, so I'm going to have to come up with some sort of green stuff alternative, or have a look through the bits box and see what I've got. But yeah, it's another one of the sculpts with his mohawk. I think the mohawks were green on the studio paint job, and I'm going to try and copy that paint job almost identically if I can. I might have to make a couple of changes just to make it fit with the rest of my army and models that I've got. That is the same sculpt as the first one, so I'll put him over there. He is, yep, he's the punk afro guy. He's a different sculpt. Yep, that's a different one. So I think there were three different standard trooper sculpts for the Chaos Knights in this era, and I've got all three, and obviously, as you can tell, a couple of copies as well, which I might as well get painted up at the same time. Yep, he's another copy of him, so I'll pop in there. And then I've obviously got the champion or unit leader. I suppose he could even actually be classed as a Chaos General, as you saw when I went through in the 4th edition army book. This is what they used in the example army as the Chaos General. So I think I'll paint him up in the first month as the General, along with the other standard troopers and the standard bearer. And then if I do have another General in the future, I can always demote him to champion, and he can continue to lead the unit, or even just become a standard Chaos Knight if needs be. But yeah, I really like him actually. He's a nice pose, isn't he? With the axe up in the air. And obviously I've got some shields for these guys, but probably not enough, so I might have to make some copies of the shields as well. And I seem to have a lot of this this horse head as well. So let's have a look if I've got any others. Oh, he's the same one. What's this one over here? Ah, yeah, that's a different one. So that's a head down, horns in the air type of pose. Oh, yeah, that's that one with the tongue sticking out again. Lots of him. Yep, he's a different one. So he's got the horns and the head slightly to one side. When you look at him straight on, he's sort of bowed down over to one side. Yep, I like him as well. And the last one of the horses, I think, that I've got. And yeah, that's a different one again. And he's got the horns, several horns coming out the top of his neck and head, and a little bit of armour on the front of his face as well. Yeah, so I probably I've got a bit of variation there with the horses, but not one of each sculpt. I think I might be missing one of them, unfortunately, but you can't have everything, I suppose, when you're buying these old minis, and you never really know what you're going to get until it turns up sometimes. So there we go. Right, so in fact, I'll leave those there for the time being, whilst I just talk about the next set of models, which is these guys. Now, these guys are fantastic. I looked for these for absolutely ages. Really hard to come by. So really glad I managed to find some. He's the one with a sword up in the air and the curly horns, and a little bit of a top knot going on there with his hairdo as well. Plenty of detail on these, and they are quite large, chunky boys as well. So again, quite daunting to paint when you've been doing little tiny Skaven for so long. Skaven are relatively easy, I suppose, in comparison to something like this. For me anyway, not having an airbrush. Yeah, and then we've got this guy who goes with him. And you've got the big collar, the big Elvis collar. Bit of a top knot again. And a big oversized axe. And he's obviously going to require a shield, which hopefully I've got enough to do that, to cover that need. And the last one is this guy, who's got the curved horns and axe above his head, and a nice sort of skull on his shoulder pad as well there. So yeah, I've got those three, and they were released alongside the free command models, which I've actually already painted, or I've been working on these last couple of weeks in preparation for this this project. I needed to do a few sort of tester models to find my feet with it all, and so that's what I've been doing, is decided to start on that little command unit and get a bit of a head start. So obviously it means I can't actually paint those for part of the challenge, but they're there waiting for when the rest of these boys are finished. And then I've got a few of the monopose plastic boys. I painted a couple of testers of those as well, but I've got probably, endless amounts more of these guys, being so cheap and a bit easier to find. So yeah, I've got at least 12 of them, but whether I'll paint all 12 or not for this challenge, I don't know. I'll just see how we get on and see if time runs away with me or not. Yeah, so that's another one of the monopose boys. I'll put him in the pile. And then we get to this guy, who is, I think, actually a bit later than the 4th edition sort of era that I've been aiming for. But he does fit in quite well with those other chunky boys. So I'll probably paint him up as part of the unit as well. Yeah, I haven't got a base for him, so I'll have to just stand in there. And I've got this guy, who again is a bit later. And these are they appear in I think it's the Chaos Collector's Guide. So they're obviously they were quite popular in their time if they managed to make it into the Chaos Collector's Guide. So I saw an opportunity to pick them up and thought, why not? They'd fit in okay. A bit more detail on them as well, maybe. A few extra hours might be needed to pick out those details. But nevertheless, I think will be a good, fun paint as well. And the last one of those era of... They're actually champions, I believe, rather than warriors, but they'll probably just get used as warriors because I've got plenty of champions, and you can only have so many champions in the army, especially with them being so expensive. Yeah, he's a nice one as well. I like his sword sticking up in the air with a skeleton on it. Very unique. I suppose actually he could probably get away with appearing in an undead army as well if he needed to. Having the skeleton on there, he looks a bit sort of undead championish, doesn't he? But yeah, that chaos icon on his chest kind of gives it away, I suppose. But yeah, so yeah, I do like those three, and I'll probably put those in the unit, like I say, and fill out the ranks a little bit. So moving on then, what I've got now is this very interesting boy, who I absolutely adore. He's probably my favourite Chaos Warrior of all time, alongside Slambo, who I actually have Slambo somewhere, but he's a bit further down the painting queue, I think. So let's have a look at this guy. Obviously, he'll get used in my games of Warhammer Quest primarily, but I believe he will fit in very well with these chunky boys. And he certainly would be a champion, I think, judging by the size of his axe. It's bigger than his entire body, really, isn't it? Very 90s oversized Chaos. I absolutely love it. And yet, still in the blister, so it's going to hurt me a little bit. And there's a bit of damage there to the blister where it's been sat in this box for so long. I've actually had this guy since I first started collecting miniatures again. Well, the second time round of collecting miniatures again. So he's been sat there a long time. I didn't pay very much for him by today's standards, so it is a shame that I'd have to take him out of his blister, but it's better that these things get played with and used, isn't it, I think? And there's the rest of his blister in there. And obviously it comes with all the card tokens and stuff that I'll need to have him in the games of Warhammer Quest. It used to come with these little booklets of all the rules. I'm sure there's plenty of rules for him, being Chaos. I've normally got a lot to remember when you've on the rule side of things when you're playing games like Warhammer Quest. Yeah, so that'll be a good fun paint as well. Really looking forward to him. There's one of the old leaflets there. Never even been unwrapped, I don't think. It's got his cards in there, his magic items and counters, which I'll not bore you with today. I'll perhaps save that for another video to do with Warhammer Quest rather than a general Chaos Army video. So I'll put him in the pile of minis to paint. So I think that's going to be at least 1 or 2 months worth of painting that I've got there in the Call of the Crown challenge. Let's just have a look in the pile, see what else we've got. Bring a few of these forward so we can take a look. Oh yeah, this is my collection of old broken Chaos miniatures that I picked up from my friend Richard over at the Demon's Lair web store. And he's always got some fantastic bargains available online, so you should definitely check his little shop out. You can get him on Instagram, or he does actually have a proper website as well. And yeah, I paid next to nothing for these guys, and I figured, well, I reckon I could convert them up, make something useful out of them, and if nothing else, they'd make good like standard bearers maybe, or if I've got a unit that needs an extra model and I can add a weapon to him as required depending on how the unit is equipped. See, to me he looks quite sort of Nurgle-y. I reckon he'd get away in a Nurgle unit. This guy is, who I had before, I think he might be like a ninja or a samurai type, but what does it say on there? Chaos Fighter. Ah, I see, he's a Chaos Fighter. Interesting. So these must be quite early. 1985 it says on there, so yeah. And there's this one, final one, he's Marauder, 1980. Ooh, what's that? 83 or 85? Probably 85, I would imagine. But he's obviously missing his halberd or spear, whatever he had before. Needs a shield as well. But he'd make a good standard bearer, wouldn't he, if I converted him up? Yeah. We'll see how we go with those. So I'll leave those there. Ah, yes. Another bargain from Richard at the Demon's Lair web store, and that is an old Hydra, which I actually picked up 2 different Hydras at the same time. That's his other 2 heads that go on there. And my thinking is that I'll need one for the Dark Elf army eventually, so I'll put the Marauder chunky boy away, and that leaves me with this skinnier version. Not sure what year this was, or if it was Citadel or Marauder, but I think he'd fit in well with the Chaos Army, painted up suitably. So yeah, that's my first monster entry for the Chaos Army. I'm sure I can make use of him. And then not so long ago, I managed to pick up these old Centaurs. And these were an absolute bargain. I actually posted these on the Crown Crown of Command Discord in the Lucky Bastards, or yeah, Lucky Bastards thread. Excuse my language. Because I paid so little for them. I think it was about £30 all in for 5 of them, 6 of them, including one of the big Marauder Chaos Lord, Centaur Lords. This is the bearded guy, looks like Zeus, with an axe above his head. I wonder if maybe these are recasts or originals. You never can tell with these old miniatures because they've all got such defined mould lines on them, especially if they've never been painted before, that they could be recasts or they could just be old models that never got cleaned up when quality control wasn't quite as good. So yeah, we've got this one, who is, I don't know what their names are, I'm sure these have all got actual individual names, but he's an archer type, chaos thug type Centaur. He's got a sword sort of built into his body as well. I thought that was glued on, but it's not. It's actually built in. Interesting. That's another body. Let's have a look. Pop that down whilst we have a look at the head. Well, that's interesting. Just cover out the background. Now I've got all those models in the background. The camera doesn't want to focus properly. That's probably a mistake on my part. I should have put them to one side. That's an interesting sculpt. Tiny really, aren't they, compared to modern standards. That's another one of the bodies. Slightly different to the others. Still very cool. And that's his upper torso and head. And he looks like a demon type almost, with the long hair, curved sword, and a very aggressive pose. Yes, very nice. So I'm looking forward to those. However, they'll probably have to be a couple of months down the line once I've done all these Chaos Knights and Chaos Warriors. Ah yes, I forgot about these. I've got a couple of the old Monopose Hero Quest boys as well. They'll join the ranks of the Chaos Warrior unit. Yeah, and this is the Centaur Lord that came with those other Centaurs. I have got his shield just out of shot up there and his tail. And he looks like he's been assembled before, having a pin in there. But it doesn't look like he's been painted, or there's certainly no residue on there. So I've actually got 2 of these. I've got another one in a box somewhere over there as well. So maybe one day I'll have a whole unit of Centaur Lords. Yeah, that's the shield and the tail. I'm not sure that'd be an original shield, but that's definitely the original tail. So pop them down there. And then we've got this guy, who I'm sure has a proper name as well, but I have no idea what it is. Not very well versed in the world of Chaos yet, but I'm sure I will be by the end of this project. I didn't know anything about the Skaven when I started painting them, really, so I consider myself, I wouldn't say an expert, but I certainly know a thing or two about them now, after painting them for 3 years. So yeah, hopefully it'll be the same for the Chaos when I get around to him. But this is, yeah, I think he's a mage or a sorcerer. And yeah, he'll be a quick paint. I think he's tiny as well in the grand scheme of things. So hopefully I'll get him done relatively quickly. And then next up we've got this, which again is a bit later, probably late 90s. This one, the mount, which I've primed, as you can see. Prepped up a little bit, although his tail looks like it could do with a bit more work. I might have to do a bit more prep work on him now that I've seen him on the camera. And that is his rider. Not sure if he was like a character or just a general or a champion, or don't know what he was classed as. Being a bit later, I've never really looked into it, but I just like the look of the model and he was a bargain. So I figured, well, he's Chaos, let's get him and paint him up. So he's got the skull and the shoulder pad, so he'll fit in well with the other boys. The mark of chaos on the other shoulder pad. And then these weird antler type horns, which are almost a bit wood elfy, I think, actually. Cool axe he's got. I like that. Yeah, so I showed you the other, the general who's in here somewhere. There he is. I don't know if he's in focus anymore, but him with the axe above his head. He's going to be the general to start with when I paint the rest of the Chaos Knights up, and then maybe at a later date I'll add this guy in, and he might become the general, or maybe he'll be the champion, I don't know. See what he looks like when he's painted up and make a decision then. So, let's pull this in, so I don't have to keep getting up. Let's see what we've got in here. Right, so these are Harpies. Again, I think these are probably the second edition Harpies. As the first edition were, I've heard other people talk about them before. What's that on my thumb? Were modelled on, now it's on my finger. Yeah, sorry, these Harpies were modelled, the previous generation Harpies were modelled on, was it Margaret Thatcher and Richard Nixon or something like that, and then these came out as like the second edition Harpies, which had a bit more of a like a demon sort of gargoyle feel to them. I really like these actually. I've got a set of the third edition Harpies as well somewhere knocking about, but I'll use those in the Dark Elf army, and these ones will get used for the Chaos. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those to paint up. I won't bore you. I think there's a couple of different sculpts, but they are very similar. There's not really a lot of difference between the different ones. Very jazz hands as well, aren't they? I wonder if that was Trish Carden now, isn't she? Who sculpted these? Having the jazz hands, that was one of her specialities. Not sure. I'd have to look up who sculpted them. Maybe it was Ali Morrison. Who knows? Yep, so I've got 7 of those, and then I've got a unit of the old, I think these are the first edition, original Chaos Hounds, and these are my favourite edition of all the Chaos Hounds, although they are quite tiny. As you can see, I've got them on 32mm bases, and they fit relatively well. Later, Chaos Hounds obviously came on the cavalry bases, so you can see that these were quite small. And that's the scorpion tail. Back into focus again. Let's come off his base. I think I've got 6 different sculpts of these guys. Let's just go through them and have a look. So he's like a skin and bone type skinny hound. I'm sure these have all got proper names as well, but I'll make up my own names. So we've got hornback, scorpion tail, skin and bone, we'll call that one. This one, who actually just looks like a normal dog. I'm not sure if he's even a Chaos Hound at all, but he came in the set, so I guess he must be. What should we call him? Standard dog. Number 5 is this guy, who, oh, he's got 2 heads. So we'll call him Twin Head. Skin and bones as well, underfed. Bless him. Someone needs to call the RSPCA. Is that it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is there only 5? I'm sure I've got 6. Ah, here he is. Ah, this guy. And he's up on 2 legs, so we'll call him. What should we call him? Call him up on 2 legs, I suppose. It's the best I can come up with. If you've got a better name for him, write it in the comments below. It'll help boost my video stats up and might get me some extra views. But yeah, he's cool, isn't he? I like him. Yeah, them Chaos Hounds will be really, really good fun. Quick, hopefully, as well to paint. Not sure what scheme I'm going to do on them yet. Could go for the multicoloured bright colour scheme, or maybe I'll unify them all with one, all one colour. Found another Harpy there. So how many did I say I had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's all 7 of them now. Oh, that's my other Centaur Lord, who is assembled. Oh, what else we got? We've got this guy, who's another mage or sorcerer, I think. He looks very 80s, doesn't he? Almost a bit Dungeons and Dragons-y. Like a devil's head. And some posh robes. Very cool. Oh, yes. Now this guy, he is definitely era appropriate. He would have been around 1994, maybe 95. He's a lot chunkier compared to those earlier 80s models I've just shown you. He's got a lot going on, plenty of detail. I think I've got 2 of them, but I can't ever see myself needing 2, so I'll probably sell one on, raise some funds for the next project. But yeah, I think he might have to probably get painted up relatively early in the project. Being era appropriate, I think he'll fit in nicely with the other Chaos Knights and Chaos Warriors that I've got there, and he can maybe lead a unit or go solo on the battlefield. We'll see. Not sure on a colour scheme for him yet, but we'll have a look for some white dwarfs and decide on that in the next video. Who is next? It's this guy. He's an 80s champion. In fact, I think I know his name. I think he is Mighty Zog Arkwright. Is that correct? Again, someone can tell me in the comments. Is his axe missing a bit off the top, or is it supposed to be like that? Interesting. Try and have a little closer look. I think it's supposed to be like that. Oh, it's like a head on top, that's what it is. With some horns. Thinking it might be. Sometimes you get the little slivers of metal that need cleaning off. I thought it looked like that to start with, but no, it looks like it might be a set of horns. He's going to be really fun, isn't he? Painting all those little skulls up on there. So yeah, he might be a champion or front row trooper. We'll have to see. Who's next in the pile? Ah, that's a Chaos Sorcerer, isn't it? And he's a big chunky boy, so he must be a 1994 edition, perhaps a bit later. Bit simpler this one compared to the other one. So that was one. Yep, they look. Ah, no, they're about the same actually, aren't they? They fit in well together. Yeah, I really like both of those. I'll definitely get those painted up as soon as I can. And that just leaves this tray of Chaos Chariots, of which I have 2. And the crew, obviously, they're knocking about. They're not fully assembled yet. But hopefully you can... Let me see if I can get them in shot. There we go. Hopefully you can see them. These are later 5th edition Chariots. Oh, they probably came out during 4th edition, actually. But they weren't pictured in the 4th edition book. But they were featured in the 5th edition book. So maybe they stuck around for a little while before getting replaced in 6th or 7th edition. But yeah, these are really cool chariots. I'll try and spin them around best I can without everything falling off the tray. But I've run out of room on the table now, so we're just going to have to make do and have a look the best you can and see what I've got here. So I don't know if you can see those horses' heads, but they're slightly different to the earlier Chaos Knight heads. Crew, he's got a big spiky whip, which is bound to cause some damage to my fingers when I'm using them on the battlefield, I'm sure. Very spiky and sharp. And the other crew member is a guy with a big halberd, which is this guy, who actually would look pretty cool just in a standard unit, wouldn't he? Really great model. Love it. And that's it for the Chaos Warriors army. I've obviously got demons of all the different types still to go through, but this will probably form my undivided Chaos army, or 4th edition Chaos Warriors army, and probably 5th edition as well. I'll probably use it for that, I'm sure. And then I'll progress on and do each of the Chaos Gods one by one. So we'll start with these guys, and then I'll move on to, I don't know which order to do it yet, but we'll do the Slaanesh, we'll do Khorne, and I've got a unit of Chaos Warriors to represent each of those as well. So I'll keep these ones looking quite neutral, so that they can be used as undivided. Although I have already started painting some, so I've got a colour scheme in mind. It is quite red. They are quite cornate, I suppose, with the red and gold. And especially if I do the Chaos Knights in the studio scheme, it's all going to look very Khorne. But I've seen them in the battle reports in White Dwarf, where they've used those same paint jobs and studio army, and they've had them as Slaanesh Knights. So I think in this era it was a bit more open, and you could sort of, do what you like almost. But yeah, so that's it for now. That's what I've got on the table. I'm going to try and pick some units out from this lot and prepare for the Call of the Crown challenge. I'll get the first month sorted out and then try and plan out the remaining 5 months the best I can. See if I've got enough models there. I'm sure I will have. And yeah, and I'll probably cover that in another video when I've picked out what it is I'm going to do. I'll have to obviously send all my pictures off to David at the Call of the Crown to get my pledges in, ready to start the challenge in October. And also, actually, I hope to paint an orc for Orktober, so I'm going to try and dig one of them out. Probably a Warhammer Quest orc, I think. I've got some of those still to finish off. And I'll paint that alongside the first month's pledge in October. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video, where I'll cover what it is I'm going to paint month by month. And maybe I'll look through the White Dwarfs of the era as well, maybe in a separate video again, so that I can plan the order more specifically. So yeah, thanks guys, I'll catch you in the next one.